Tyler, what's going on? Todd, what's going on with you, man?
Nothing much, man. Living the dream.
We haven't done one of these in a minute. I wanted to get some language from you in regards to how to handle certain scenarios where people are worried about banking or they need to think about it, right?
Mhm.
Like everybody wants to think about it. So I'm just curious if you wanted to role play just a little bit of like as you kind of transition into if we can find something that makes sense, go over the need, right? The help in the hurry situation and just kind of talk through how you're, trying to handle that before you get to the end and handle that objection, right? You want to flush like some of the things that you try to flush out and ask
Yeah.
before you get to the end of the call where you have all these objections where you could have stated something or asked a question ahead of time so that that doesn't come up at the end of the call.
Yeah. But there's I think the two most important things that I do in the presentation are setting up the buying atmosphere and then obviously handling, the objections on the front end. So almost at the very beginning of the call, or a minute or two in, I say, Arturo, hey man, so I have three goals with all my bets. One is specifically trying to find something that's going to be affordable for you and fits your specific budget, because obviously your budget's going to be different from all the other veterans that I speak with. Two is trying to find something that you're comfortable with. So whether that's like, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 in coverage, as long as it fits in the budget, we're going to apply for it. And then if it doesn't fit in the budget, obviously we're not going to apply for it. That's just kind of some common sense stuff there. And then three is finding a carrier that would be willing to take on as a client. So Arturo, I work with over 25 top rated carriers. And if you're in great shape, man, we'll have 25 or more carriers fighting over an application from you. If you're in pretty poor health, we'll have about 4 or 5 or 6 carriers we can apply with. Or if you're in decent shape, we'll probably have about 15 or more carriers we can apply with. But it sounds like, if we can find something that's affordable for you, something you're comfortable with and something you can qualify for, it sounds like that's something you'd like to apply for today, to put in place for, Sarah, is that correct?
Yeah. Okay. So break down what you just did there.
So I'm covering it, I'm covering all all the main objections that kind of pop up, right? I can't afford it. Or, I'm just not, I'm not comfortable with with that amount of coverage, that type of deal, or something along those lines. And then also like, well, I don't make any decisions today, so kind of covering all that. And if I don't get a yes from them, I'll either just completely use different verbiage, but ask them the exact same thing over again. Cause a lot of times they aren't listening to you. Or I cut them loose, because I'm not going to waste my time with people that aren't going to give me a yes at the end, and but also like with the and sometimes people will be like, yeah, maybe, and I'll be like, what do you mean maybe, Arturo? What else would there be if it's affordable, if you're comfortable with it, and if actually we can find a carrier that will be willing to accept you as a client? What else besides those three things would be a deciding factor for you today?
Mm.
But
So you're getting right to that right at the beginning of the conversation to just kind of gauge if this is something that somebody's serious about, if they're just kicking tires, price shopping, or if there's an objection. Because the thing is you're like most agents try to handle delayed objection with price at the end. You're handling the objection before they even know what the price is.
Yeah,
which is very genius right there.
Well, it's just that old saying, whoever brings up the objection first wins. So covering all that stuff on the front end weeds out a lot of that stuff. And I used to get more like, well, maybe, or that type of stuff. I just don't get that anymore though. So I don't know. Maybe I need to come a little bit stronger, or it's effective. One or the other.
Well, it's interesting that you lead with that, because now it's like a lot of times agents are worried about losing the sale, by saying something like that, or they hate when objections come up. It's like, dude, how many calls have you done? Like an objection is going to come up. You should expect that, but we should be prepared to handle it in the moment where it's like, yeah, no, you're just used to that part. So why don't we just handle it in the beginning? Let's just see if you're serious about this. If we can make sense of it, we're going to try to get something today, and then if they're like, oh, it's like, well, help me understand that. And so you want to get that delay objection out of the way before you even get started. So, and
Yeah,
then
and
if
you're
not,
only
you just want to move away from it. Go ahead.
yeah, and you're only scared to say that if you don't have a full calendar. I mean, I can't stress it enough. The leverage of having a full calendar, it gives you like the FU button. You
Yeah.
know, like
Abundance and mindset. It's just like, dude, I got so many people to talk to.
yeah,
Somebody's gonna
yeah.
buy
Like
today.
I'm already like 3 or 4 appointments behind. Like you're either coming to apply with me or you're not. Like I'm not here to shop for you. I'm not the quote guy. I'm here to take care of business. I'm here to protect your family. If you want my help, awesome. That's what I'm here for. And if you don't, then move along.
Yeah. So how long have you kind of had that mindset, or when did you make that shift to where it's like, I'm here to help, but I got a lot of people in the kind of, or when were you aware, when did you make yourself aware that like, oh, I needed to make this change, where like I needed to have a full calendar. That way I won't have to worry about whether somebody's going to buy from me or not.
Well, I mean, you said it, at the beginning too, like, I've been doing this for 20 years, so this is not my first rodeo. So, I mean, I figured that out pretty early on, in my sales career, knowing that whether I've got a full day in the field or a full day, on the phones and stuff, it gives you leverage, and it just gives you the confidence knowing like, hey, look, I don't need your business. And if you're not here for me to help you, then I need to go to somebody else that actually needs my help. Like, I'm not here to like hang out and to talk about, the war and your grandkids. I mean, I'll listen to you, chat about the war and your grandkids, but I'm not here to hang out for an hour or two talking about all that type of stuff,
Yeah. Okay. So after you transition into like doing it, because you like that's a pretty early on Tim check
Yeah.
to see if they're kind of serious on it, right? And so you
Yep.
you obviously, and then when you're doing it that way, you're also forcing it to like get to the heart of the matter at the beginning, so you aren't wasting your time either, because they
Yeah.
aren't serious, right? You want to save your energy for somebody that is serious, because there's going to be other things on the back end, whether it's health wise or like looking for some other solutions. So you don't want to be wasting your time trying to convince somebody that isn't going to buy it and then probably can't qualify. You can save your energy and just move on to the next person. So
Yeah.
after you do that, then what happens after you kind of get through that? So people are like, okay, sure, that makes sense. If it's affordable, is it within my budget, and it is reasonable, yeah, we can see about that. So then what do you do?
So then the next piece is I kind of explain to them the process of what it's going to look like when we're actually applying. And I say, Arturo, it looks like you haven't applied for life insurance in a while, man. So let me just kind of review this with you. I know it's not your first rodeo, but let me just kind of review with you how the whole process works. So out of the whole 25 plus companies that I work with, none of them are going to make any decisions on you today. So the only decision that you and I can make is just what we want to apply for. And then it'll be a little bit of a waiting game from that point moving forward. Now, as we wait to hear back from these companies, they're going to completely look you up and down, man. I mean, they're going to be checking your medical records, your pharmaceutical records, and they actually use your social security number to verify all those medical records. And they use your social security number to verify your identity as well. They want to make sure that you are who you say you are. You don't have any crazy ex-wife trying to, get any insurance in your name and stuff,
Yeah.
And then they'll check background, driving record, make sure you haven't just escaped from prison. And then they'll make sure you haven't had like 15 DUIs here in the past year. And then they'll also check banking information to make sure that you haven't been involved in any insurance fraud. Now, do you bank with USAA or Navy Federal?
Okay. Cut. Time out. So
Yeah.
when you explain something, that allows you to get more, it allows people to be more complicit with the request that you have. But you mentioned social security number, driver's license, and banking in that piece that you did, right?
Yeah.
I did notice that. And you told them why you would need those things, which is a very logical thing.
Yep.
Is that strategic, or is that just, I'm just curious?
Yeah, I mean, those are the main objections we get, right? Like, I don't want to give you my social security number. I don't want to give you my banking information. Why do you need my driver's license number? All that type of stuff pops up. So again, you handle it on the front end. And then when they circle back around, they're like, well, I don't know if I want to give you that. And I was like, well, just like I told you before, man, they need your social security number. They can't check your medical records and your pharmaceutical records and verify that you are who you say you are. So this is a non-starting point. If I can't get your social security number, we can't apply with any of the 25 plus companies.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, and I like the way you just get right to the main objections right in the beginning. It's like, hey, we're gonna ask you for your social, we're gonna ask you for your driver's license. Here's why, and then your background information. And and then you go right into the banking information. Cool. So
yeah.
So all right. So
and there's a last piece to that too. You want me to go through that?
Yeah.
Okay. So Arturo, do you bank with USAA, Navy Federal, or do you bank with a more local bank here in Tennessee?
It's a local bank, Pinnacle, here in Tennessee. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome, man. And so if we find a carrier that is willing to accept you, and we're working with Pinnacle, they're actually going to allow you to choose the auto withdrawal date out of your checking account from Pinnacle. That's going to be more beneficial for you. It's not for their convenience, it's for your convenience. So you can be like some of my veterans and line it up on your Social Security payday, which is a second, third, or fourth Wednesday. You can line it up on the first to line up with your VA disability payday, or even like a pension or retirement fund payday. But again, you get to choose when you want them to take that money out of your Pinnacle checking account. And again, it's for your convenience, not for theirs. So once they get done looking at everything, man, they're going to come back with one of three decisions. They'll either decide to offer you coverage. And if they do decide to offer you coverage, then the ball's in your court. And you guys can decide, if you want to increase the coverage, decrease the coverage, whatever that might look like. If they decline you coverage, obviously it's back to the drawing board, or they could come back with some type of counter offer. And usually what that means is that we need to keep shopping. We need to keep looking around because there's probably going to be a bigger, better deal for us out there someplace else. So again, I know you've been through this before, man, but what questions do you have for me about the information they're going to need to submit an application, the overall process? I mean, what else can I walk you through a little bit more in detail?
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm curious about this part too. You made an assumptive statement that they probably been through this process before.
Yeah.
All right. So help me understand like why you make that statement.
So I asked them, like if they're like I don't have any life insurance, Okay, well, when was the last time you had life insurance? Well, I've never had life insurance. And obviously I don't make that statement, right? They've never had it. So then I'll phrase it like, hey, I know you've never been through this process before.
Okay.
So this process is totally different from anything else you've already been through. So let me explain it to you so you just kind of know what you're in for and stuff, that type of deal. But if they said, yeah, I had a policy 5 years ago, or yeah, I've already got coverage and I'm just looking to add on, then I'm just assuming, that they've already been through that process. And sometimes I'll even utilize the current coverage that they have kind of against them a little bit, like, hey, Arturo, I know you said you got that AIG policy that you picked up 5 years ago. This process is exactly the same that when you picked up that policy with AIG 5 years ago. And then I'll walk them through.
Nice. Okay. Okay, then what happens next?
And then I go into, medical stuff and just basic stuff off the financial inventory, medical stuff and budget stuff.
Okay. So let's kind of handle a couple of objections that may come up where they're like, I already have a policy or something. Cause you said sometimes you can use that against. How do you kind of navigate through somebody that's like, yeah, I already got insurance or something like that?
Well, that's I think the second or third question that I ask them. So Arturo, are you do you already have a little bit of coverage and you're looking to add on, or do you not have anything currently?
I have a little bit, but maybe looking to add on some.
Okay. Well, how much coverage do you currently have, and how much would you like to add on?
I think I have like a small little policy, like a little burial policy. I don't know what they say, but like 15,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
But, that's just enough to put me in a box and put me in the ground.
Yeah. And then how much would you like that on to that 15,000?
I don't know. The reason why I haven't is because I just feel like it's going to be a little bit more expensive. So I'm just kind of shopping around to see what my options are.
Okay. Well, I won't be able to get you, any quotes or be able to get you anything until I know exactly what you're looking for, or at least a ballpark about what you're looking for. So I can't just throw out, random rates and prices and stuff like that if you don't know what you're looking to add on to what you already currently have. So you've got 15. What's this other additional coverage for? Is it for, leave a legacy behind, help out with a mortgage? I mean, what's kind of the purpose behind adding additional coverage on?
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I like that. So you don't just accept that as an answer, right? Like you try to dig a little bit deeper and not just accept a little very generic, vague answer, huh?
Yeah, because I mean, they have to have like something pulling at their heartstrings. It's got to be for somebody, and they have to have like an idea of what they're actually looking to accomplish. If they don't, then you'll get all the way through the end. They'll be like, "Yeah, I don't think I really need it." Well, yeah, they don't need it because you didn't dig in and find out why they want it and why they need it.
Hmm. Yeah, so you got to go a couple layers deeper, especially with guys too. Like we give the the most generic answer right in the beginning. Yeah, how's everything? It's fine. It's good. It's cool. All right. It's like, all right. So you got to dig a little bit deeper, and then you kind of threw out a couple scenarios to kind of get them leaning towards, like, is it for somebody else, or like why you want to do that? And
Yeah,
typically, after you ask that second time, do you usually get an answer?
yeah, yeah. And if I don't, then again, I'm cutting loose, man. If it's not important to them, or if they're just like, hey, I'm just out there, let's shopping around. Well, I'm not your guy, man. You can go online or you can call any of these other companies if you want to. I'm here to help you out. But if they don't have a strong enough need or like a beneficiary or a purpose behind the call, then I'm not there to just like hang out. I'm there to take care of
Hang
business.
on, I lost you. Can y'all hear him? A little bit. Yeah, we lost your audio. Is it me or is it you? Go ahead, Todd. Say something.
Hello, hello. Nothing.
Okay, you're back.
Okay.
Can you repeat what you just said though?
Shoot, I don't know what I said.
You were you're talking about the need. If they don't give you a need, you get to the end of the
Oh yeah,
call.
if there's not a need there or if there's not a purpose, then I'm not going to continue with the call. It's kind of the same thing with, getting them to say yes after it's affordable and comfortable and all that jazz. Like if they don't have somebody that's going to, and then if they don't know like what it's going towards to solve that whatever that pain is, then there's no reason for me to like, be on the call with them anymore because I'll just get to the end and they'll be like, yeah, I don't need it, or I need to think about it because they don't really need it, and they don't really have anything it's going toward. They're just bored and they just want to talk to you.
Okay. So if you're getting frustrated or you keep getting, I need to think about, I need to talk to a partner or spouse, a quick shift to make is to try to handle some of these objections right at the front of the call, right? And again, like for me personally, I like the approach that Todd takes because it's transparent and it's not like wasting anybody's time. It's like, hey, we're gonna see, here's what the objective is, and I think that like sometimes what people don't realize in talking sometimes in a sales situation, the resistance and the skepticism is way up here because they don't know what the intent of the agenda is. You go through the call and you're like, hey, tell people how it's going to go. So the whole time they're wondering is like, okay, when is this person going to try to get my money or this or that, as opposed to saying, hey, I'm here for you. Here's what we're going to try to accomplish today. And if we can get these three things accomplished, here's what the next steps would look like. So help me understand, right? Like what you have in place. I'm going to ask you a couple questions about that, why you wanted to get it in the first place. What was kind of going through your head, right? And getting that why. And then if they don't give you something, you want to dive deeper into that and try to handle objections to see if they're serious or not about this. That way you don't have to waste 30 or 45 minutes and then get to the end and they're like, yeah, I need to think about it. So you want to handle all of that up front.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. This is go, right? If you guys are getting some value from this, drop a 7 in the chat. Anybody have any questions? Now keep in mind, Todd has been crushing it up for 20 years, but he's been in our program absolutely just blowing it out of the water. It's the model of consistency with his regiment and his skill set. And even with that, with being in the business 20 years, like when he first came in the program, I remember having him on the call and his presentation wasn't like this.
Yeah.
He humbled himself and shifted to an approach, right? And then it took off for him. So I'm curious if anybody in here has any questions for Todd while we have him, any scenarios or anything like that. See, CJ, you got a question? Paige, you got a question?
No question. I thought you said put a 7 in the chat if you have.
Yeah. I just wanted to see. I'm trying to see if anybody's got any questions.
Oh no. I'm good.
In here, let's see. Who else we got on? Justin, Paige, no, Tobert. James, you got any questions?
James has probably heard me say it like 1,000 times.
Oh,
So.
he has. Cool. Yeah. So if because I know you don't get it because you try to handle it in the beginning. I guess the last piece is how do you kind of manage the conversation with people like, yeah, I just want to think about it. Or I need to think about it. You know, they give you some weak answer.
Yeah. Well, so I'll be like, hey man, there's really nothing to think about because that's not how the life insurance company works. That's not how this industry works. So the only thing that we have to decide on today, Arturo, is just what we want to apply for. Kind of like I mentioned to you before, it's a little bit of a waiting game from that point moving forward. Now, if they do approve you, they're going to make you an offer. And then at that point in time, Arturo, that's when you have an opportunity to think about it because you actually have an offer on the table. But as of right now, I mean, all those numbers I just gave you, it doesn't mean anything. I mean, you can throw those numbers in the trash because they don't mean anything at all until actually we put an application in, until we come back with an offer and stuff. The question is, do you want to apply for it today to see if you can get approved? And if you do, then you'll have something to think about if you want to keep it at that level or if you want to increase it or if you want to decrease it.
Dope. Awesome. Yeah, man. Smooth as butter. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, again, I know I put you on the spot. I appreciate you kind of
That's all good, man.
hopping in there and sharing that. I know you probably done more sales calls than I've probably thought of. So again, I'm gonna ask anybody have any questions for Todd as we kind of wrap this one up. Looked like that was super valuable. A lot of folks put 7 in the chat. Let's see here. So I guess I'll wrap up with, again, we're sending out the reminders for coming to the event. It's gonna be absolutely amazing. Got a star-studded lineup for you guys. And I mean, it's not easy to get these people to come too. You know, I mean, it takes 3 to 6 months for me to line up stuff and make it work. So I really try to make this worth you guys' time. I know it's just like, I want to travel and go to another convention, but this is different. And the people that we're bringing in, it's hard to get all of them together to actually enjoy what they're doing and love coaching and teaching and pouring into you guys, but then also that we can hang out, that are down to earth type folks. So definitely make sure the dates on it is 28th through 1st, making sure you guys pop in for that Friday, Saturday, checking out that Sunday. And yeah, man, we'll leave it at that. Todd, again, thanks so much for sharing that. We'll post this one in the group so you guys can refer back to this because there was a lot of good nuggets and some language in there. And then we'll see you guys next week.